Welcome to Irish Mindset, ladies and gentlemen. We got for you a bunch of guests. Look like the Brady corners here. Okay, Mr. Jacobs here. Just went out. And Aaron
Came
for
back
you here.
in.
First topic is Keely. Is he going to stay or is he going to go?
I would like to see him personally stay, but I don't know if they're going to recruit him over to Alabama, considering they have some recruits working on him now to go to Alabama. I mean, with college football the way it is now, it's kind of interesting to see these guys do recruiting after they commit, but it's going to be an interesting thing here because that's probably the biggest get so far for Freeman here this upcoming season. So he losing that 5-star rock solid defensive end would be definitely a huge detriment. That would knock him down the rankings in recruiting.
Yeah, but nobody gives a damn about the rankings.
No.
If you've listened to Coach Freeman, you realize he's for the kids, okay? And that's all he can do. If the guy leaves, he leaves. Hopefully not. But I'd take as many visits, wouldn't you? What the hell?
Yeah, he still has an official visit to Alabama. Doesn't he's already used his with Notre Dame.
Yeah. So hey, that's up to him. I think
Richard, the running back that we recruited, went to Alabama. He says he's guaranteed that Keely's going to come to Alabama.
Yeah.
So,
if he does, he does. I think Coach Freeman's a better speaker. He's more into the kids than Coach Saban. But hey, that's just.
It's hard to turn down Alabama, I think, when it comes to national exposure and being able to have probably probably the best college football coach of all time. So it's definitely difficult to. I can see why you'd want to go there. I think Notre Dame's produced a lot better edge rushers in the last couple of years than Alabama has, though. So
yeah,
I can't remember any Alabama outside linebackers or defensive ends that have really made a huge impact. So I definitely would like to see him stay because I think he's a huge get for him and definitely someone that could stay for at least 2 or 3 years and then help him build his defense the way he wants to. So I would
another free.
I would say now just the momentum that's going the opposite direction. I would say he's probably heading on his way out.
I saw somebody post there were 4 top recruits that are possibly transferring, and he was at 40% to leave Notre Dame.
Yes, so I think right now I read something like 60% Notre Dame, 64%, something like that. I don't know what goes into those numbers exactly, but it's – I mean, he has some time. He was a commit back in, late June, so that's a pretty early commit for a 5-star, especially someone that has a new head coach here in Notre Dame. I mean, I think he can probably play the field a little bit and see what kind of things are out there. And with the NIL deals, you never know what kind of compensation someone will end up getting if he ends up going to Alabama instead. So,
Yeah, for Nick Saban, absolutely not liking the NIL caps and stuff like that. He wants where Freeman's more kind of free with it. Being a new coach, he's more focused on the ins and outs, the chemistry and stuff like that. I think he stays here at Notre Dame and tries building to the legacy of Notre Dame, because if you're just building off of that Saban legacy, you don't even know if you're going to start. He comes to Notre Dame, he's probably starting, okay? You don't even know if you're going to see the field if you go to Alabama, even though he's one of the best in the country, probably 9 overall. I think he stays Notre Dame. Would I be shocked if he goes to Alabama? No. But let's go to our offensive coordinator. He takes a step forward under Freeman versus under Kelly?
I think he's going to go forward because Kelly, I think, was the key at that one. I think he's going to be more open because Freeman's more of a defensive coach. I think he's going to Reese is going to have a little bit more leeway of what plays to be calling.
Well, let's go back to the Oklahoma State game. What happened the second half?
Just a total collapse. I mean, it's just not everything. It's just everything.
Well, you can't have the defense on the field more than the offense. Okay. What changed with Coach Reese on the offensive calls the first half? That's the scary part to me, because we look like crap the second half. Okay.
Well, you have to understand, Kelly was not there anymore. That regime was over. So this is all new now, you know.
Well, that's my biggest problem, Coach.
We're talking about Freeman. I mean, he hasn't even really coached a game yet.
No.
And I mean, we could talk about the recruiting. We can, he's a great recruiter. He's got the guys out beating the pass, getting recruits. But until he gets on the field in that first game against Ohio State, we'll see where we're leaning towards. We should do the podcast after that Ohio State game. We'll see what direction we are going. I mean, he hasn't even coached the game yet. So.
Yeah, but who calls the offensive plays? Reese does. Okay. What scares me is what happened against Oklahoma State. He called the plays the second half. Okay. A 2-year-old Ubangi can tell you what plays were being run. Hopefully, as Aaron said, he can widen the perspective, and let's see what happens. If it's the same thing, then unfortunately somebody's got to go, and it ain't going to be Freeman.
Well, we had Jack Cohn as a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was average quarterback. I mean, he's a good drop back passer, but until we get Tyler in there, where he can be more mobile and more options. I mean, we didn't have any options on the Oklahoma State game. I mean,
well, I'm with you. I'm
not going to use that as a huge barometer for like success. I think that was like the worst rushing game I've seen in a long time for Notre Dame. I think they had like 40 yards rushing that game, which you can't win.
Yeah,
their running back group has been kind of taken down a notch since we lost all these big name guys in the last couple of years. I mean, you had Diggs, I think, had like 30 yards. You had Tyree that had like under 20. I think Cohn threw the ball, 70 times that game almost?
Yeah.
And you're up 28-14 at half, and you're throwing the ball 70 times almost? That's like...
Well, you can't run the ball with 8 in a box. And that's why I thought our running game went bad. But let's face it, all 4 of us know you can't run the ball with 8 in a box. All right. So then you got to split. We run screens. We run flares. I don't like Aaron said, and you said, young man. Time will tell. Hopefully,
we talked about the offensive line last year. It was battered. It didn't do what some of the players didn't live up to the hype. We had left tackle problems all year. Our offensive line didn't produce like anything. With Harry there now, well, let's see. When Harry's there, and watch this offensive line this year.
Yeah. Well, they moved Patterson to guard now because I can't think of the young man's name, who's just as good a center, which gives us more positive with Patterson at guard. And like Aaron just said, you've got one hell of an offensive line coach. Been there, done that. So we'll see. I
wouldn't be surprised if Reese leaves if they have a really good year offensively. which I don't know if they will, because I don't think their talent level is as high as it needs to be on offense right now. I think their wide receiver group is pretty weak in comparison to their prior history at wide receiver. I mean, they don't have too much depth, and they don't have too many big name guys out there at wide receiver like they've had in the past. So it's definitely, I think Reese is going to need a couple more years here before he can kind of jump ship to another school, which, I mean, I thought he was in the running for the head coach job, but he's a little bit too green to be able to get a head coaching position with not much experience. I want to get away from those screens a little more, because that was like a emphasis for Kelly for how many years, those quick bubble screens and stuff. And with like, how many pick plays did they run that they had pass interference on the time that Kelly was going?
We've got speed. If Lindsey can catch the ball, okay, and Avery Davis both of those guys got good speed. And we do got a tight end. Can Reese? What's that?
At the spring game, they said Lindsey's like third string now, second or third string. They weren't even.
He might still be. Is he still hurt? Because he does have speed.
They talked about that Thomas.
Yeah. But like the young man said, when you're bringing in freshmen and sophomores, do they know the system? Okay. Mm-hmm. I listened to Coach Freeman's interview, and he said they were griping because Tyler threw the ball the wrong place. No, the wide receiver didn't run the right pattern. Okay. Until you get everybody gelling together, time will tell.
I'd like to see some continuity at quarterback where they don't have this Brian Kelly flip-flopping to every other guy. I know Pine is a pretty solid quarterback, and I mean, Buckner's probably your best bet when it comes to starting. I don't want to see guys get pulled here and there. And like, if you got a guy that's going to win it out, just win it out now before the season starts and just ride with them. So you don't have this constant, am I going to get yanked type of thing going on every single year for how long? It's just, you need to instill some confidence in one of these guys to be able to run the offense a little bit better than what they have. It's just like, get them some confidence and keep them in the game. Let them make some mistakes and let them ride through it and make if he makes bad choices, don't have a short leash on these guys to pull them if they end up having a bad game.
Well, I think all four of us will agree. It's Tyler's job to lose. I've got nothing against Pine. He came in and did a hell of a job against Wisconsin, but it's Tyler's job to lose. As for Angeli, another year learning won't hurt him. He's a hell of a quarterback. Okay. We got kids looking at other quarterbacks, and that's the scary thing. When they were talking about the kid from Detroit, did you really want to bring him in? Because somebody's leaving. Now, would it be Angeli or would it have been Tyler? I don't know. And I'm done again.
Well, yeah, the same thing with Carr coming in, kind of. So who leaves when Carr comes in? So
they're still talking about a quarterback for 23.
I lose one guy.
Yeah,
it'll be nice. I mean, it'll be nice.
And it wasn't me.
It'll be nice to see. I mean, you get a guy like Carr coming in.
Now it's just Aaron and I. How you doing, Aaron?
We can still hear him. That's you.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, obviously.
I don't remember the last time we had like a 5-star recruit. What? Gunnar Keel?
Who?
Gunnar Keel was like the last 5-star recruit they had a quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's CJ Carr, I haven't seen him play enough. He's moving around a 4 and 5-star, but I mean, with like these guys, I could see if Buckner gets beat out. But Buckner's got to have a big year, otherwise they'll probably move on.
17 minutes.
Good. Yes. Absolutely. So let's get into the next topic. The Irish stay in the top 5 recruiting classes for the next 2 years.
If they lose Keeley, we won't. Not for 23.
They bumped back up to 1 as of yesterday with those commits that they got from Osbury and Minich. So I think Dylan Edwards is announcing his at like 11 o'clock. So he's a 4-star. So if you get him, 2023 is looking pretty good. 2024, I mean, you got a 5-star QB, 4-star, 5-star, depending on the website, but you have a pretty good shot if he's got this much influence already to bump him up to 1. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to keep it up. It's just you got to put the results on the field and beat these big name teams, obviously.
They only got a few more open spots because they're at like 21 or 22 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're saving 1 spot for a quarterback.
Yeah,
they got it.
He's on set on Notre Dame here. Steve, go.
Well, if I can say something before getting knocked off again, who gives a damn? That rating don't mean crap until you get him on the field with the coaches, okay? And at the moment, this kid, Aaron, might be a 4-star. By the time he gets there next year, he might be a 5-star. I give up. It looks good to the fans. Yeah, no, it don't mean jack crap. Get him on the field and see what's happening.
Well, we've already discussed that. We've had 5-stars before. Defensive side.
Yeah.
They never even saw the field. They transfer, go to a small school.
Yeah.
They don't live up. It is. I don't know who makes these ratings, but
yeah.
I think it means a lot to the players now these days, though, to see that just visually and see these guys coming here. Then it's a huge get for the younger kids. You have all this publicity around these recruiting classes. I know as much as it is, I understand. I played football forever, so I'm like, yeah, I get it. When it comes to like, hey, if you get a guy on the field, he might not play like a 5-star. Then you get a 2-star that plays like a 5-star. But just visually looking at it from a viewpoint of a young college kid that's 17, 18 years old, deciding where they want to go, you see Marcus Freeman's approach versus Brian Kelly and what they're building and what they have for potential to sway these kids to come here. I definitely would say it's huge for the players that want to actually have a chance to come and play for a guy.
I get you. Well, everybody was bitching and moaning about the Shamrock Series tape. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was good. I love the uniforms. Matter of fact, I just bought the jersey like always, but I thought it was good. And I'm 74.
That was the best jersey. That was the best jersey that I've seen them put out for a stadium series in a while.
Yeah, it's nice.
That Yankees one I looked at when I first released it, I was like, there is no way I'm even buying that at all. So
I was stupid. I bought it.
That's the ugliest jersey. That's the ugliest jersey they've ever put out. The new ones, that video was the corniest thing, but I laughed. I was like, man, I would not be able to get through that entire video because it was just so corny.
Yeah. And it's for the kids, and the kids liked it, and that's the only people that count.
As much as if you get these guys leaving, like Keeley, like if you get these guys that do a hard recruit, yes, they're committed, then they bounce away. So it's going to be definitely.
I don't know why I get to see Aaron. I don't get to see anybody else.
It's definitely going to be something visually to be able to get these guys here, and they want to come. So
that's true. Still way too early.
Yeah. College football never stops, though.
But the sad thing is now they're marking these high school kids, they're juniors and sophomores. I saw one on a quarterback. They said this guy's worth $8 million. I don't think they should be doing that kind of stuff to high school kids. Oh my God.
They just had that kid that was 14 that went viral for having his he had like his picture of him doing his workout, and he looked like he was like 20 some years old, a 14-year-old kid, and then they're talking about Notre Dame offering to him. So it was definitely like it was definitely funny to see that. That's been going on for a while. I mean, you get some of these top name guys, like they get recruited super early on, but they never really seem to turn out.
What's the difference between now and when SMU got nailed?
It's legal now.
The money's
It's
going,
legal.
right?
It's legal.
And I lost everybody.
I think NIL deals are actually whatever. I mean, I get
But
wanting to actually make money in college based off of your likeness, because if you're like Johnny Manziel, imagine how much
Ooh.
money that guy would have made in college.
Oh, yeah.
What's the difference? I'm sorry, I got knocked off. What's the difference when at SMU, their alumni were paying, and now we're going to get what? Companies to pay? What's the difference?
It's legal now. It's legal now.
it's legal. It's legal. It's legal.
We're going to pretend like teams
because,
weren't
like,
doing that weren't getting caught. I mean, there's teams doing that in college basketball, college football. It's like that's been going on forever. It's now it's regulated to a certain extent. Now it's
supposedly regulated. Supposedly. Yeah, no. I don't see the difference.
I think ultimately that's going to hurt Notre Dame, just because I don't think they're going to be as willing to fill out deals as like SEC teams and stuff like that have more competition. So, I mean, you're not going to be pulling recruits, I don't think, too much from like the southern states a lot of times, like we do, and like they don't really do anyways. So,
but first,
I don't know what
do you think Notre Dame's? What do you think Notre Dame's year is going to be like? The outlook. How many wins?
No, they're out.
Have this year.
I'll put that. I'll second that. 10 wins.
Yeah. I like 10.
That's the best I'm going. 10-2.
Could be. You'd be happy with Aaron. You'd be happy with 9-3.
It's up to how they play.
I lost him.
It's up to how they play in the 9-3. I mean, if we're close like the old Brian Kelly days, where the games are nail biters against terrible teams, we need to start finishing teams. Kelly never finished a team. Couldn't finish it. I mean, a heart attack. I almost had heart attacks the last 20 years, or since he's been there, 13 years. Every year, Toledo. I mean, you can name these schools that they had to beat at the end. And
what's Marshall getting? $5 million to come in, I believe.
Come in to get the brake speed off you. That'll be fun for $5 million.
Well, sure. Why not?
I would say probably about 10.
It's their bowl game. That's all those schools like Toledo. That was their bowl game to
Ball
come
State.
into the stadium. Yeah, that's their season right there.
I lost everybody again.
If I would look at these teams like Stanford, they've fallen off so much, it's unbelievable. Syracuse had like the worst offense in college football last year. North Carolina lost their starting quarterback. I mean, it's all going to depend on Ohio State game. I think they end up losing the first week. And then the Clemson and Southern Cal.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the rest of them. I think if they can pull out the Southern Cal game or the Clemson game, they'll have 2 losses. But I think they're going to lose 3 games at least.
Will you be happy with 9-3?
I mean, it's his first year. It's kind of a – if you look at the schedule, I mean, every single year you can kind of predict what games you already kind of know that are going to be losses or wins. But I'd be fine with 9-3. I would like to win one of the 3 with Ohio State, Clemson, or USC. I just want to beat USC because I can't stand them. But, I mean, either way. Clemson game last year was probably the most entertaining game of the season. So, but I don't think they're going to be. I don't even think Clemson's going to be as bad as they were last year.
They got the new defensive coordinator, so they lost their key defensive coordinator. So we'll see how their defense is.
9-3 is excellent for any other coach. Granted, it's your first year, so I don't expect him to just come in and stay at the same level when it comes to winning games as Brian Kelly does. But you got to win one of those. You got to win one of those 3 if you lose one game early to Ohio State, I expect Ohio State to be ranked in the top 5 throughout the season. So they might be top 3 throughout the season. So you might have an outside chance at making the playoff if you win against Clemson and USC. But that first game of the year, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in they're going to be able to.
Well, if we can't run, we're in huge trouble.
That one makes me nervous. I'm definitely not going to be. I'm not expecting the best out of that situation. Usually, whenever they play Ohio State, it's a bad time. But you never know. It's the first game of the year. You throw kind of everything out the window. So,
well, what do you do next year? You start with them next year too.
You got to beat them next year, then.
Yeah. No, it's the third. It's like the middle of September.
Oh, next year's game is.
Yeah, it's in the middle of September.
Yes.
Unless they join a conference, then, huh?
Yeah. Don't go there.
You don't want to join the Big Ten.
I do, but I'm the only one that I talk to.
And I would like to join the Big Ten selfishly because I live in Minnesota, and if they play at the U of M, I'll get to actually go watch them.
There you go. There you go.
They'd probably do well in Big Ten too.
There you go.
Well, Big Ten you alternate, so you play. I think they play everybody now, but I think there's so many weak Big Ten teams. You could seriously, if you can avoid one Michigan or one Ohio State game a year.
I didn't.
You're probably fine. But it's the same thing with. Same thing with the Gophers. I mean, I follow them just because I live here because they alternate playing Ohio State or Michigan. And this year, I think they don't play either of them. So it's got to be all the Gopher fans are talking about how they're going to go to the Rose Bowl now. I'm like, well, you don't have to play anybody leading up until you go to the Big Ten championship. But it'll be interesting this year. I think 3 losses is the worst. I think 1 loss is the best. Like, you have 3 toss-up games, probably 2 toss-up games at Clemson and USC. I think Ohio State's going to be – I'd be pleasantly surprised if they won, but I do not have much faith in them winning that game.
I just want to keep it close, respectable.
Yeah,
I think the key is the wide receivers and the cornerbacks. For wide receivers for Ohio State and our cornerbacks. Their weakness, their strength, our weakness. If you get past that, I think Notre Dame has actually a chance of winning the game because the offensive line and the defensive line go to Notre Dame. It's just that secondary is what scares the heck out of me with the quarterback at Ohio State and wide receivers that they have.
Yeah, they're Stroud and Jackson Smith and Jigba, all those guys. I mean, he's better than any of the wide receivers that were drafted out of Ohio State this year, and he's still sticking around. I mean, he looked better than Olave did last year. So it's like, I think you're in for a world of hurt here when it comes to this wide receiver group if they're not coached up and ready to go for week 1.
Stroud do 500 yards passing. What he do in that full game?
How many yards rushing do you think he'll get? I mean, I'm more worried about him just running all over the field the first game of the year, like them just being. I don't think they'll be unprepared, but I think they don't have the talent level to keep up with that wide receiver group. So it's going to be scary to start to see the season. Like it'll be definitely if they can keep it close and win out those 2 other games, they have a pretty good shot at making it. But my expectations are probably a little more tempered when it comes to where I'm looking this year. 10-2, probably 9-3.
Yeah, that's about around 10 the most.
Yeah, I think that Clemson USC, you flip a coin on either one of those games.
Well, at least Clemson's at home.
I think 10-2. That is true. 10-2. They win a New York Six Bowl. Okay. And then
the Bronx.
My prediction.
Yankee Stadium again.
I don't.
My sleeper player this year. Let's throw this one. And my sleeper player this year is Jalen Sneed, linebacker. That's my sleeper. He's going to be a standout.
I want to see how Joe Alt does. He's from my hometown, so we'll see. He went to the private school in my hometown that we hate. So,
Isn't he playing? Is he the left tackle?
yep.
Yeah. They moved Fisher to
He
play.
played tight end in high school, and he was like all state. He went to Totino Grace, and they're, I think my senior year, Totino Grace beat us by about 40 points. So 48, no, more than that, like 48 points. So anyone that goes from Totino Grace, they seem to have a Catholic tie to Notre Dame there. So I kind of kept up with him just because I follow high school football here in Minnesota, and he was a tight end for the longest time. So he looks like he'll be decent. He's only been playing the position really for 2 years now. So
no, hopefully he stays healthy.
Yeah, we've had a ton of injuries at offensive line over the last 5 years. It seems like there's always someone that goes out that they got to just replace. But
they are big.
I miss the days. I miss the days of having the big name guys out there all the time. There seems to be a thrown together offensive line. I'd like to see more of an emphasis on them putting recruiting on that, since I think that's probably part of the reason they can't run the ball as well.
Well, that one for 23 just moved up to 5-star. That big jet, I can't even pronounce his last name. Jacuzzi. That
Jagusa?
Yeah. He looks like a boy.
He's 6'6". I think he's more of a right tackle, probably. But I think they'd like to. I mean, I see all these linebackers and corners and all these guys are getting. I'm like, let's get a top tier offensive lineman in here. They got that Sullivan Absher too.
Yeah, he's like the top 5. I saw a list this week. That he was in the top 50 in the country.
Well, I stand corrected. They got a bunch of tackles that are looking like they're good. And that Elijah Page, 4-star. They got Sam Pendleton, who's an interior 4-star.
Yeah.
These are all huge guys, too, that they're getting. All these interior linemen they're getting are like 6'4". 6'4", 6'4", 6'7", 6'6". It's definitely they're definitely building the big boy line there. So that'll be helpful, hopefully, in playing with these.
You see the one offensive lineman retired from football.
Had to.
Yeah, medical.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to just their wide receiver core and the quarterback play. This is what it's going to come down to this year. The defense will be all right. They got the transfer from Northwestern, Brandon Joseph. He'll come in and cover for Hamilton, but their wide receivers are kind of shaky, and their quarterback is going to have to step up. So I don't know. 9-3 is like the worst, but I mean, imagine any other team being like 9-3 and then people are disappointed. Like, it's not a terrible record by any stretch, but not something we're used to when it comes to Notre Dame the last 13 years.
And we have a transfer kicker and a transfer punter.
I think that's probably most of the time what happens is these guys play. I don't know how many guys actually you recruit for kicking and punting, but
big part of the game, though, boss.
It is.
Yep.
That's why I hope they get Dylan Edwards here in the next 20 minutes, because he's a kick returner too. So that'd be nice to have him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Our special teams haven't been really terrible the last few years.
No.
But in college football, I think it's highlighted a lot more with if you have a terrible kicker or punter, you can definitely lose some games.
Been through that.
That kicker we just had for a few years was just cross your fingers.
Yeah.
I'm a Vikings fan. Do you think I don't know anything about kickers? Come on. That's all I do.
It's well, at least your quarterback isn't going to be suspended for 20 years.
Well, I kind of would like Kirk Cousins to be suspended. I don't want to. I have to deal with watching Kirk Cousins for the next 2 years again. I can't do it anymore. I'm over it at this point. It's
especially when you have all those weapons too. I mean, you have Thielen, you have Cooks, you have Jefferson, and then you have a decent tight end. So it's like,
He just got
and
hurt
then you
again.
have an average quarterback in Cousins.
Well, I mean, everyone was on Case Keenum for so long. They're saying that he had the second best record in Vikings history, essentially. Like he got lightning in a bottle that year, and our defense was playing out of their minds. And then we bring in Kirk, and then they just went like waffle around 500 for the next couple years, and then they re-sign him. It's just like they don't want to jump in to get a new quarterback and a new head coach. So I think they wanted to have a little bit of a carryover for this year. It's just the defense is getting super old at some places. We have Patrick Peterson playing our number one corner spot. He's 32 years old. I'm like, that's barely younger than me. And I'm just like, I don't know. With Zimmer leaving, he had to go, just like Kelly. I mean, it was a pretty big year for my fandom when it comes to coaching because I lost Brian Kelly and you lost Mike Zimmer. So,
our Cowboys picked up a Minnesota Viking, that Barr linebacker.
Barr was terrible the last couple of years. He didn't even practice all last year because his knee was hurt. So I'm like, I wanted Aaron Donald that draft entirely. I'm like, don't draft Anthony Barr, please. Give me Aaron Donald. He dominated the Senior Bowl the entire time. He was like the best player on the field. And we needed a defensive tackle. They drafted Sharif Floyd, and he ended up having a knee injury, and he got surgery, and then he had nerve damage and could never play again. And you have probably the best defensive tackle of all time you could have drafted that year. So I'm like, well, great. Now we're stuck with Anthony Barr, who the only thing he did that was ever of substantial, like that I remember, was when he broke Aaron Rodgers' collarbone. That was like the best. That was the only thing he ever did I remember that was worthwhile. I was like, all right, thanks. That was worth it that year. But yeah, I don't know. They're both very similar to one another, so I'm very disappointed typically when it comes to being a football fan in my entire life. So
you're going to see a Notre Dame game this year?
Me?
Yeah.
Probably not. I got a 3-year-old, so I got to be able to be around for that. So I haven't gone yet. I was going to go to when COVID canceled it I was going to go to Wisconsin Notre Dame at Lambeau, but it got canceled in 2019.
Yeah.
So my buddy works for a beer distributor in Wisconsin, so he could easily got tickets to go to Lambeau for that. So I was like, all right, we're going to go to that. And then it got canceled. So other than that, I haven't made the trek out there yet.
You've never stepped on Notre Dame College campus?
Never once. I've been a fan since I was like in middle school. So
it's heaven.
I've watched Rudy enough times. I think that probably has something, at least a little bit of the allure. But yeah, I mean, my uncle, my godfather was a huge fan his entire life, so I became a fan. So, and I'm actually related to Newt Rockne on my dad's side, so that's kind of cool.
Oh, there's something.
It's on my family tree. You can look at his name, pull it up. It's in my grandma showed me when I was in like probably 4th grade. I was like, wow, that's
something.
Yeah, don't look like him.
Yeah.
But he it was definitely, it's Minnesota, man. It's Norwegian and German. That's all it is. So I'm a mishmash of both. But yeah, I haven't gone. I'd love to go to a game at some point. That's why I wanted to join the Big Ten, so I don't have to drive all the way down to South Bend.
Especially with the prices now.
It's
absolutely.
I don't really. I could have got those free tickets to Lambeau. I've been to Lambeau one time, and that was the playoff game where Christian Ponder got hurt going in, and it was Joe Webb starting, and I just found out on my phone on the way there, and I was just. So definitely would love to go down there at least once here in the next couple of years. I'll probably wait till my son's old enough to bring.
That'll be an experience.
I'd rather wait for him just because then I can bring him along. And at 3 years old, I can't get him to sit still for 5 minutes, let alone 3 hours.
Absolutely.
He's bouncing around upstairs
But
right now.
that will be the episode here on Regan's Corner. Go subscribe down below, local American Legion. And donate anything possible to them. So, stay Irish, my friend.
Go Irish. 10-2.
I'll say 9-3 just to be different.
Peace.